Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for bearing with us. We were running a bit late. Before we start, I'm going to quickly introduce the panel on the main table. On my extreme right-hand side, we have Chairman of the Board, Dr. Baldwin Ngubane, and next to him is Mr. Brian Molefe, the Group Chief Executive of Eskom, and next to him is Mr. Anuj Singh, the CFO of the company. And we also, at the right at the end, we have Ms. Suzanne Daniels. She is the company secretary. So before we start with the formal proceedings, we'll call Mr. Joe Pagati to give us a safety briefing.
Good morning. How are you this morning? Good. My name is Joe. I'm just going to quickly run through the safety evacuation in this room, which is Franklin Auditorium. What will happen if there is an emergency in this room? An alarm will be raised through the speakers that are in the room. Once you hear the alarm, that will then mean you've got to vacate the room immediately. In this room, there is 4 exit doors. There is 2 doors on my left, which is the main door and the door behind the panel table. There's another door on the far right and one behind me. You can use any of these doors to go out. But before you leave the room, you need to check amongst yourselves if there is anybody disabled that needs to be helped. Thereafter, everybody can just leave the room. For those that would have used the doors on my right, what you do, you just push the door open, follow the passage until you get to the end of it, where you find another glass door, open it as well. On the other side of the door, there will be a safety officer who will then walk you to the nearest assembly point. On this side of the building, the nearest assembly point is on the east of the building. Because you'll be coming from behind, you'll go down the staircase, obviously being led by the safety officer, go through the security checkpoint. Opposite the building, on the green grass, there is a big sign that says assembly point number 2. We can all assemble there. And for those that would have used the doors on my left, you just go out and immediately go down and follow those that would have gone the other way around. Once you all gather at the assembly point, what we then do, we take all the attendance registers. Based on the names that will be signed, we do a roll call to make sure that everybody that came out of this room is safe and sound. Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Thank you so much, Brajo. I would like to take this opportunity once again to sort of welcome everyone and also for bearing with us. This is the second day now that you are here. Yesterday we did indicate that yesterday obviously it was our results presentation. Today's meeting actually is called by the board. So it's about a presentation where they're going to clarify the issues in relation to the report of the public protector. And without any further ado, let me call on the chairman of the board, Dr. Ngubane, to give us a few remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this briefing session. We know that the public protector was conducting an investigation into state capture. She informed us at Eskom about the investigation she was doing. In the process of her investigations, she interviewed numerous people but did not interview anyone from Eskom, although she had given a commitment to do so. I mean, getting a large number of boxes of documents in a space of less than 24 hours, surely there can be no thorough and full assessment of what is contained in there. So we expected to have a chance to take her through our presentations. Like normally happens, this did not happen. It is our contention that had she made an effort to get Eskom's side of the story, she might have come to a different finding. The transactions that we made were entirely commercial. We will talk about the transactions just now. Professor Dr. Pat Naidoo, who is the chairperson of the Social Ethics and Sustainability Committee of the board, which is a statutory committee by legislation, he will deal with our response to the Public Protector's report. Thank you, Dr. Naidoo.
Very good. Thank you. Chairman of the Board of Directors, Group Chief Executive Officer, Group Chief Financial Officer, Company Secretary, members of the Executive Committee of Eskom, the media, fellow colleagues, to our customers out there, the employees, our investors, our shareholder, and all other stakeholders out there. It gives me great privilege to present to you the facts. Let me use the computer now. The facts. And there's the contents of my presentation, background and context of Eskom, the commercial basis for the coal supply agreements, the conflict of interest, and a conclusion. Background and context. The aim of this presentation is to be fact-based. Eskom disputes the observations of the Public Protector's report as it is not based on fact. Based on the Public Protector request, the facts contained in this presentation is submitted. Let us go back to April 2015 and reflect on that time in the life of Eskom. Load shedding, diesel usage at an all-time high, liquidity crisis, spiraling price of primary energy. Primary energy is coal. The gun to the head attitude of our suppliers. Negotiations with National Treasury for the equity injection into Eskom. Poor generation plant performance. Eskom purchases approximately 120 million tons of coal per annum. And we're going to give you a copy of this presentation so you'll get all the facts. The commercial basis for coal supply agreements. Firstly, let's start with Majuba. Majuba Power Station, 3,600 megawatt unit. Brakfontein Mine is the supplier. On the 10th of March, 2015, taking in a total of 1.356 million tons of coal per annum. The business needs and justification are as follows. The coal was acquired under the 2008 coal mandate that was approved by the then Eskom Board of Directors. A 2-year due diligence process was conducted by Eskom. The contract concluded 10th of March, 2015. All contractual documentation, information, and approvals have been provided by Tegeta. The approval authority at that time was the Senior General Manager of Primary Energy, and the approval date was on 10th of March, 2015. Now let's look at the procurement outcome, and then we'll talk about the conflict conclusion. The procurement outcome. Eskom's view is that the transaction was in accordance with the PFMA and Eskom's policies and procedures. All potential suppliers in the market had an equal opportunity to approach Eskom on an unsolicited basis to provide coal supply to Eskom. The functionality of coal supply from Tegeta was assessed during the 2-year due diligence process conducted by Eskom. An independent legal opinion indicates that the transaction concluded with Tegeta in relation to the Brakfontein supply agreement is in compliance with the PFMA. Conflict conclusion. All directors were appointed on the 11th of December 2014. None of the directors in this contract were involved in the approval of this contract. No need for declaration of interest, consequently no conflict, either direct or indirect. Let's go on to this next transaction. And I'm going to detail each of these transactions one by one for you in absolute clarity. Hendrina Power Station. Hendrina has got 10 200 megawatt units. The Optimum Coal Mine, BRP, August 2015, for 5.5 million tons per annum. And let's talk through this one in terms, firstly, in terms of the business need and justification. then the procurement outcome, and then the conflict conclusion. The coal supply agreement to Hendrina Power Station is valid and enforceable by Eskom until December 2018 at a price of approximately 150 rands per ton. Now, this is an old historical contract that runs out and expires in 2018. The supply entity to Hendrina was Optimum Coal Mine. And we received a declaration from Optimum Coal Mine saying to us that they have hardship in terms of the CSA and they proposed 442 rands per ton. In addition, a coal quality dispute existed between Eskom and OCM that was valued at 2 billion rands. Eskom refused to accept the proposed price by OCM and demanded settlement of the penalty. OCM was then placed in business rescue by their holding company Glencoe in August of 2015 after suspending supply to Eskom. Take good note of that. The BRP also attempted to cancel the CSA as part of the BRP process. To ensure security of supply, coal supply, and mitigate load shedding, Eskom had to scavenge for coal from other suppliers. And this is all happening during the time of load shedding. Subsequent to business rescue, a number of potential buyers, including Tegeta, approached Eskom to relax the price and quality penalty for which Eskom refused. I was part of that refusal. This process was wholly and solely under the control of the BRP, who then requested approval from Eskom to cede the CSA to the new owner. Contract ceded to Tegeta was on the same terms and conditions, exactly the same terms and conditions as those for OCM. Therefore, coal was supplied at 150 rands a ton. Now, we've detailed that one very, very carefully for you, so please read it carefully. Procurement outcome. The decision to put OCM into business rescue was taken by the shareholder of OCM and not Eskom. It's got nothing to do with Eskom, absolutely nothing to do with Eskom. Eskom had no influence over this decision. The purchase of OCM by Tegeta was a BRP process, and Eskom had no influence in this regard. Absolutely nothing to do with Eskom. Conflict conclusion. The approval body was the board tender committee and not the board of directors. Members of the board or tender committee recused themselves where potential conflict existed and were not part of the decision. The board tender committee approved the cession of the CSA to Tegeta only as Eskom could not unreasonably withhold approval. Note that point. Let's go on to Arnott Power Station, the sister power station of Hendrina. Exxaro contract, 31st December 2015. The business need and justification first, followed by the procurement outcome and the conflict conclusion. Again, you find another historical contract. A 40-year CSA was signed with Exxaro that expired on 31st December 2015. CSA means coal supply contract. Sorry, I should have explained it. I see one of the reporters. My apologies, ma'am. Coal supply contract was signed with Exxaro that expired on 31st December 2015. A contractual 3-month notice period was provided to Exxaro on 30th September 2015. At the time of expiry, the contract supply agreement pricing was 1,132 rands per ton. I want you to take careful notes of all these financial figures, because it is this coal that we turn into electricity. And it is that electricity we give carefully to our customers. Exxaro offered to extend the contract at an average price of 737 rand a ton, excluding capex and closure costs. The comparative report, parity price of coal is much lower. No commercial justification existed to continue or renew this contract. Certainly not. Poor operational performance by Exxaro resulted in under-delivery of non-contractual volumes. The procurement outcome. Eskom had justifiable reason for not renewing the contract with Eskom. And when I talk about Eskom, I talk about the board of directors of Eskom. We are the leadership of this company. The conflict conclusion, not applicable. Not applicable. Continuing with Arnott Power Station. There was an open RFP, request for proposal process, that was done in March 2016. Open, public. Business need and justification. The tonnages supplied under the contract were below contractual volumes, necessitating Eskom to supplement the supply with other contracts to mitigate security of supply, which was a continuous challenge. And let me take this opportunity to invite all of you to visit our power stations. They're absolutely monstrous, and they gobble up the coal. In anticipation of the expiry of the contract, a request for proposal, RFP 3264, was issued to the market in August 2015. The rationale for issuing an RFP to the market is based on the expiry of the Arnott contract and the then exorbitant cost of coal from the expired contract. It's clear, very clear. 5 suppliers were shortlisted, and negotiations concluded with 4 of the shortlisted suppliers. This RFP process was conducted in parallel to previous events detailed previously. So we're running a real-time operation here. Different power stations, different contracts, all needing our care and attention. The procurement outcome. In terms of the PPFA instruction notes, Eskom is required to report transactions to National Treasury prior to award. National Treasury has indicated that a closed process is to be followed. Contract terms are still being finalized. And we get regularly these instruction notes, and we continuously respond to all of them. The conflict conclusion. All perceived conflicts were deliberated on, and no conflicts of interest were identified. Absolutely clear. The Arnott Power Station, the whole discussion on prepayment. And we're talking here the Tegeta prepayment, April 2016. And let me remind all of our colleagues out here, in a few years' time, Eskom will be celebrating 100 years. 100 years. This company has deep foundations, very strong processes, very strong practices. And we will invite you to join us in that 100-year celebration. Business need and justification, the procurement outcome, and the conflict conclusion. And let's go through this one a little bit slowly. An assessment of the winter supply plan was conducted, and this indicated a shortfall of 2 million tons of coal to meet production requirements at Arnott. Right, so I try and get in your mind what this 2 million tons means. All existing suppliers, as noted above, was approached to mitigate the above volume risk. Time and quality of coal were the overriding factors that would have determined the successful supplies. Only two suppliers, namely Tegeta and Umsimbiti, were able to increase volumes and meet the time and quality requirements. We need 2 million tons, 2 million tons. 1.2 million tons of coal from Tegeta was procured under the 2008 coal mandate to ensure security of supply and to prevent load shedding during winter. And we were extremely tight at the board. There will be no load shedding. We have to manage the situation such that there is no load shedding to our customers. That was our top priority. The prepayment was made in terms of the board-approved 2008 coal mandate in respect of coal prepayments, 659 million including VAT. Several other prepayments to suppliers have been made since 2008, ranging from 100 million to 400 million. Cost plus mines, and we have lots of discussions around this whole issue of cost plus mines, started in 1923. Lots of discussions. Also enjoy upfront investments of capital into their mining operations. The future investment requirement is 38 billion. The latest cost plus request for capital approved by the board on the 27th of September, just the other day, was for Exaro, was for the Matla mine, was for 1.8 billion rands. 1.8 billion rands. Eskom's enormous business. When we talk millions and billions, it is large. It's the 7th largest power utility in the world. This is of global significance. Needs to be taken care of with utmost discipline and care. Other than coal prepayments, Eskom had prepaid other suppliers an amount of 3.5 billion at 31st March 2016. And we provided all this information. Boxes of it was delivered. Eskom and financial risks associated with the prepayment were adequately mitigated by Eskom. An internal audit verification conducted revealed that the quantum of the prepayment was fully recovered by coal delivered by Tegeta by 31st of August 2016. This successfully enabled Eskom to overcome the winter challenge without load shedding and also without the use of diesel. We're adamant we will not use diesel. Diesel must be switched off. Procurement outcome and the conflict conclusion. The procurement complied with relevant Eskom procurement policies. As I said, this company was established 100 years ago. It's got deep foundations in terms of policies, procedures, and practices. It's not something that we just put on the table today. Prepayment complied with relevant Eskom policies and is not exceptional in nature. Commercial and financial risks of the transaction were mitigated. And Eskom does that in every transaction. Every transaction that goes through, there is risk evaluation, risk mitigation, risk management. Prepayment completely recovered without no risk to Eskom. 8 potential suppliers were considered for coal supply, concluding a contract with 2 due to quality and timing constraints. Consequently, the market was appropriately tested. Right. The conflict conclusion. Again, the approval board was the board tender committee and not the full board of directors. The members of the BTC recused themselves where potential conflict existed and were not part of the decision. And we are very clear about that. We check that all the time. Let's talk about Komati. Komati. This was one of those return to service power stations that we brought back to support South Africa's growing economy and to support our supply capability. Grootfontein, Tegeta, 2nd September 2016, 2.4 million tons per annum. And again, we'll talk through the different headings. Let's start first with business need and justification. Komati was established as a mouth-of-the-mine power station, mouth of the mine, earmarked for the surrounding Grootfontein coal reserves to ensure minimal transport for the coal. We basically lift it from the ground and we put it into the boilers. Grootfontein is therefore best positioned to supply coal to Komati at a cost-effective rate. The Grootfontein contract was approved for extension on the 8th of August 2016. Approval for the modification was obtained from National Treasury on the 17th of August 2016. And you can see, we're not doing our own arrangements here. We're continuously communicating with National Treasury on all matters. Approval for the modification was obtained from National Treasury on the 17th of August. Subsequent to this approval, the contract extension was signed on the 2nd of September 2016 for a 7-year period. The Eskom coal supply plan indicates that Komati requires 200,000 tons per month supply of coal for financial year 2017 and beyond. To mitigate this shortfall, a contract for the supply of coal had to be put in place. Procurement conclusion. We've complied with all relevant procurement policies of Eskom and even National Treasury. Full compliance. It's approved by the board tender committee. National Treasury approved it. This was obtained on the 17th of August 2016 from Chief Director, SCM, Governance, Monitoring and Compliance. There's a big structure within National Treasury that manages all these issues for the state-owned enterprises. The conflict conclusion, the approval body was the board tender committee. The members of BTC recused themselves where potential conflict existed and were not part of the decision. I'm a member of the Institute of Directors Southern Africa. That's a common practice. We go for training, regular exercises to manage our delivery of duty at the Eskom Board. Shareholder value created by the various coal agreements. I said to Chief Financial Officer, give us these numbers and let's talk about these numbers. And there's 4 of them that is currently on the table, on the radar. We'll talk about all 4 of them, Hendrina, Arnott, and we'll talk about the Arnott issues. Hendrina first. the optimum case. The benefit of the Tegeta-owned optimum colliery compared to the Glencore-owned optimum colliery is calculated based on the difference between what we got from the real price from Tegeta and the revised Glencore offered price for the same coal, same quality, same delivery conditions and terms and conditions, from 1st of April 2016 until that contract expired on 31st of December 2018. So just for that short time period, we calculated what was the delta, and what did that give us? And that delta, the real benefit that we delivered to the customers of our electricity, was 3.385 billion rands. That goes straight to the bottom line, straight to the tariff. Had we paid the 3.385 billion rands, again, it goes straight to the bottom line and straight to the tariff in the other direction. Prepayment for Arnott coal. The financial benefit of this transaction is compared to the export parity price of coal as delivered to Arnott Power Station. And Chief Financial Officer computed a figure for me, 61 million. The prepayment for Arnott coal. Right, and this one, read this one carefully. The alternative here was to go and switch on the diesels located in Cape Town. Buy diesel fuel and burn diesel 24/7. Had Eskom anticipated risk materializes, National Control would have had no choice but to switch on those diesels. And we would not have purchased the 1.26 million tons of coal, and we would have run the OCGTs to make up that production shortfall of 2.2 million megawatt hours. 5.5 billion rands we would have spent in that short time buying diesel. Arnott contract expiration. At the time of expiry, the coal supply agreement pricing was 1,132 rands per ton. Exxaro offered to extend the contract at an average price of 737 rands a ton, excluding capex and closure costs. These are also huge numbers when you start to add them on. The comparative export parity price of coal was much lower. And the real benefit realized by Eskom was 7.743 billion rands, which we posted straight to the bottom line and delivered that to our customers. So it's very, very clear that we have done our job here at Eskom. Summary and latest developments. Right, we've demonstrated the facts relating to all these transactions. There's significant value was obtained by Eskom in concluding these various business transactions. We did our fiduciary duty as the board of directors of Eskom, and as members of the board tender committee, and as management. Hard decisions taken to reverse, and we use this sort of phrase, gun to the head, because that's what we were held hostage here. Attitude resulted in value for our customers. And you all know the load shedding suddenly stopped. Didn't take months to stop the load shedding. Suddenly, there was a miracle here, just stopped. The load shedding all just stopped. Value demonstrated in interim results of Eskom to 30th September 2016 with primary energy costs. And we presented this to you in our business results yesterday. Decreased by 1.5% compared to an average increase of 18% over the last 5 years. 23% increase in EBITDA, 23%. When I was driving home last night, I heard the radio announcer say, I don't think anybody even listened to the results of Eskom. So please, there's value there. 1.5% compared to an average increase of 18% over the last 5 years. Don't worry, ma'am, and say, we're going to give you copies of all this. And please, please help us work through all these numbers. All contracts were concluded in line with Eskom procurement policies. These are policies that are almost 100 years old. All transactions have a clear commercial rationale. That's the basis of making decisions and running any company. The business case. Is it in the interest of the business? The Companies Act prevails. We work in that space. Tegeta supplies only 9.3 million tons of the 120 million tons that Eskom purchases annually, 7.7%. We haven't even spoken about the giants we operate, the 6 by 600 megawatt thermal power stations and the upcoming supercriticals, 6 by 800 megawatt thermal power stations. Just to talk about that, the 6 by 800 megawatt thermal power station, they're 45 stories tall. 45 stories tall. The 6 by 600 megawatt, which I refer to as the super thermals, they're 35 stories tall. Arbitration proceedings between Eskom and Tegeta have commenced regarding the optimum penalty. You remember the optimum penalty? Still there. And is progressing well. On 3rd October 2016, Tegeta advised Eskom of its intention to reach a mutual agreement on specific terms to terminate all their contracts. Terminate. Now you want us to continue managing the business at Brakfontein, at Hendrina, and Kroonfontein. And again, Eskom works in a space. We deal with suppliers, we deliver to customers. We deal with suppliers daily, thousands of transactions. Thousands of transactions. Should be noted that Tegeta did not respond to the open inquiry RFP for supply to Arnold. And you can draw your own conclusions. These are the facts, and we are going to give you all the facts. So let's talk a little bit about conflict of interest. In terms of the coal supply agreements, I only referred to those power stations or those particular contracts that are currently on the radar. There's numerous other contracts within the business itself. So let's talk about conflict of interest. Right. And this is the board of directors of Eskom. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for allowing me to share this information with our colleagues. I'll start first with our chairman, Dr. Ben Ngubane. His declaration of interest compliance, met, recorded, audited. Comments. The alleged conflict of interest attributed to Dr. Ngubane is of no consequence because he did not preside over any transactions relating to Tegeta. Dr. Ngubane is a big man. He's not going to be sitting in all those little committees. We further note that Mr. Essa resigned as a director of GADE, G-A-D-E, Oil and Gas Pty Limited, on 13th August 2014, after a period of 3 months. So whatever value that is, we give you the facts. My colleague, Mr. Zetembe Khoza, declaration of interest, full compliance. No specific issues raised with respect to Mr. Khoza. My colleague, Leonardi, declaration of interest, compliance managed, no specific issues raised. Complied with, sorry. My colleague, Ms. Mabudi, full compliance with declaration of interest, no specific issues raised. This is with respect to the Public Protector's report. Well, myself, I guess I must say it for myself too. Full compliance, no specific issues raised. My colleague, Mark Pamensky, yes. Full compliance managed. Comments. Mr. Pamensky was never a member of the board tender committee and consequently could not have influenced the outcome of any decision in respect of Tegeta. When we say he's not a member, he doesn't get any information, he doesn't participate in anything whatsoever. Nothing. Mr. Pamensky was a member of the Investment and Finance Committee, IFC of the board. It can further be confirmed that no transaction relating to Tegeta has served before the IFC since his appointment. Right? Remember the Tegeta contracts were earlier. Yes, in addition, Mr. Mark Pamensky recused himself when necessary, when the board considered matters relating to Tegeta. So whenever the individual committees do the work, they come and report back to the full board of directors. And when they report back to the full board of directors, Mr. Mark Pamensky recuses himself for all matters that pertain to Tegeta. The only instance in this case was on 27 September 2016, as it relates to the board considering management's responses to a National Treasury request relating to their draft findings in relation to the Brakfontein contract with Tegeta. That was the only case. My colleague, Nazia Kerim, declaration of interest compliance, yes. Comments there, in terms of the policy, only lineage conflict of interest would need to be declared. Her husband's alleged association with Mr. Essa. Consequently, it is our considered view that Ms. Karim did not breach any obligations. She resigned from the board of Eskom on the 30th June 2016. Colleague M. Kassam, Ms. Kassam. Yes, full compliance for a declaration of interest. Ms. Kassam was never employed by Sahara Computers. A correction was sent to the public protector, but does not seem to have found its way into her report. And we felt that it is correct and appropriate for us, even if Ms. Kassam left us, for us to put the facts on the table. The alleged conflict of interest attributed to Ms. Kasim is of no consequence because Ms. Kasim did not preside over any procurement transactions. She resigned from the Eskom Board on the 14th April 2016. My colleague, Mrs. Naidoo, full declaration of interest compliance was conducted. Mrs. Naidoo recused herself from this decision of the Board Tender Committee on 10 February 2016, declaring her potential conflict, her husband being the advisor to the Minister of Mineral Resources. As it relates to the meeting of 7 March 2016, Mrs. Naidoo declared a potential conflict of interest as noted above. And in terms of the policy, the chairman invited comments from other members of the committee and concluded that due to the nature of the items being considered, no potential or perceived conflict of interest exists. Thus, Mrs. Naidoo had complied with the obligations. Mrs. Naidoo's non-recusal of the BTC meeting on the 11th and 13th April 2016 was justified, as the potential conflict declared previously had now been resolved. This had been resolved by her husband resigning as advisor to the Minister of Minerals and Resources. Mrs. Naidoo therefore complied with the obligations to declare, and thereafter she resigned from the board of Eskom on the 15th of June 2016. Now you can see the pressure you've been putting on our board members. Untold pressure. We all are here to do national duty. That's what we are here for. We are here to serve the country and serve our customers. Director Kumalo, Romeo, he did his full declaration of interest compliance. Mr. Kumalo was not a member of the Board Tender Committee. And the alleged conflict of interest attributed to Mr. Kumalo by the public protector is of no consequence, because he did not preside over any transactions related to Together. Mr. Kumalo also resigned from Eskom. And again, undue pressure on all the board members, and the board, and the company, and our customers, and the employees, and the shareholders, the investors. We run such a big operation. We talk 24/7 to the global financial markets, and you disturb us. My colleague, Mrs. Klein, no issue around declaration of interest compliance, no specific issues raised. My colleague, Ran Molefe, Group CEO, thank you for coming and joining us at Eskom. Mr. Molefe is not a member of any subcommittee of the board. Not a member, doesn't even enter the room. No specific issues raised. My colleague Anuj Singh, also thank you Anuj for joining us. He's not a member of any subcommittee of the board and cannot influence any board decisions. No specific issues raised. Right, full compliance. And what I've told you now is all audited. We've got external auditors, internal auditors, they audit us 24/7 also. It's all there. So let's wrap up now. I think we've given you a lot of the facts. You've got a lot to chew on, a lot to report on, a lot to talk about. So let's wrap up. Right. All transactions complied and continues to comply with Eskom's procurement policies and procedures, which are consistent with the requirements of the PFMA, and all regulatory and all legal transactions of the country. All transactions are based on sound commercial rationale. The board has complied with its duties to manage conflicts of interest, as and when this arose in terms of the applicable policies and governing legislation. We believe, and we want to say confidently, we run a world-class operation here, not negotiable on all its expectations. External audit, internal audit, and independent external legal firms have reviewed the contents of this presentation. So we haven't just suddenly packaged something and brought it to you. We've done our due diligence and our controls. External audit, internal audit, and independent external legal firms have not identified any non-compliance on the part of the Eskom Board of Directors. Remember, we work all the time within the framework of the Companies Act of the Republic of South Africa. The Eskom Board of Directors complied fully with its fiduciary duties towards the company. It was so sad when I heard on news all the comments regarding the Board of Directors and Eskom and the management. The Board of Directors acted in the best interest of Eskom by ensuring significant value was created by the company. Material significant value that we've passed on to our customers. It is not clear how the conclusion that the Eskom Board acted unethically and unlawfully can be made. The Board of Directors is concerned that the findings made general observations and refers to these as evidence implicating Eskom and the board. It is so sad. On the 2nd of November, we had just concluded the awards function at the School of Mechanical Engineering Science, University of Johannesburg. And while sitting in the auditorium like you, I saw on my email a copy, a note came from the company secretary. Here's a copy of the Public Protector's report. So I went home, it was about 10-ish, and I started reading that report, 355 pages. And I read it, and I read it, and after reading it, I just came to one conclusion. Eskom has cooperated with the Public Protector by providing all the required information. However, it is noted that Eskom has not afforded a right of reply or the opportunity to cross-examine the Public Protector's evidence. And when I say we provided all the required information, I think it is about 168 boxes of this information. Boxes. We sent a truckload of this stuff. This, under threat from the Public Protector stating non-compliance with the unrealistic deadlines, may well result in adverse findings against the Eskom Board. Can you see how serious this is? We talk to our investors 24/7. We talk to our customers. We got real-time duty. And suddenly we were hit with this finding. It's an observation. It's very sad. Consequently, the board does not believe any fruitless or wasteful expenditure has been incurred as value has been demonstrated. And we've done our duty and exercised due diligence. And we have all the material information to put on the table and to back up those statements. Finally, the Eskom Board of Directors is considering to take the report of the Public Protector on review. Thank you, colleagues. Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to share the proceedings of the board. Group Chief Executive, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Naidoo. For those who may have missed, his full name is Dr. Pat Naidoo. He is the chairperson of the subcommittee called Social Ethics and Sustainability within the business. We will now give you an opportunity in case there are any issues that you need clarity on or that you maybe may have missed or those kind of things. So you'll give us an indication as to who you are and the organization that you represent, and then we will take it from there. We'll take it in smaller chunks, 3 at a time, and then we'll see where we end up. We will start with the gentleman on the with a white shirt.
Hello. Hi, my name is Dewald. I'm with City Press. I just want to say that most of the information here is in the report. I mean, most of it is reflected there, apart from the part about a board member not having been an employee of Sahara. A lot of it is in Mansela's report. It's not excluded. So a careful reader would see the Eskom counter-argument. But also the thing about the prepayment having been rational and commercial and so on, I mean, that's not the basis on which there was a problem with it in the report. The basis is just that it wasn't used for what it was intended to be used. It's that they used it to buy the mine as opposed to the stated objective on which it was approved, which is to buy equipment and make it feasible to deliver the coal. So does that, in Eskom's view, matter at all if they presume that that money was not used for the stated purpose, but was used to buy the mine? Does that matter?
I'll go to my right-hand side and speak and take Mike.
I think, Chair, let me answer one at a time, then we'll get it clear.
Okay.
We don't say, just for clarity, in terms of Sahara Computers, what did you say?
Sorry, the only point that was raised here that I really hadn't seen in the Public Protector's report already was about one board member's conflict of interest as to having been a Sahara Computers employee, which you say was not true. And you told her that, but that still reflects in the report. But most of the other explanations for why there weren't conflicts and the dates where they were recused from meetings and so on, those are all reflected in this report.
Yes, just for clarity, all I said was Ms. Kassim was never employed by Sahara Computers. Purely a fact. All we're saying is we're just putting facts. Thank you. On your second point regarding the prepayment issue around what we had done, all I've done is provided the facts. I just gave you the facts. Thank you.
Mike? Yeah, yes, Kevin, apologies.
Hello, is this working now? Okay. So Kevin Crowley from Bloomberg News. One of the slides there, you said that Tegeta has notified Eskom of its intention to cancel all its contracts with Eskom. Why is that? And how are those negotiations going? And when do you expect those contracts to be cancelled?
Thank you, Kevin.
No, thank you for that. Again, let me reiterate. All I've done to this morning is give you the facts. It is to be noted that Tegeta did not respond to the open supply RFP for supply of coal to Contact, and Tegeta advised Eskom of its intention to reach a mutual agreement on specific terms to terminate all their contracts. That's the facts, just the facts. I don't know why, but those are the facts. Thank you.
Sikonati?
It's Sikonati Manchanja at Business Day at Financial Mail. Dr. Naidoo, thank you for the presentation, sir. I'm here. You are saying Eskom and Optimum have entered into arbitration about the 2 billion rand fine. In August 2015, Eskom issued a demand for the repayment of that fine. Has anything changed, or is that how the process goes? You first issue a demand and then you enter into arbitration? Second question.
Yeah, let me answer that. I think you gave the question and you gave the answer. Thank you.
Okay. Have I got the answer now? What is the answer, sir?
It's part of the process.
You start by issue demands and then you go into arbitration.
Yeah.
And what happens next?
We follow the process.
What is the process?
Just a minute.
The process is set out in the contractual terms. What has happened is that Eskom has issued its statement of claim. Optimum has the opportunity to file its statement of defense. It is due in the first week in December.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, you then state that the prepayment, and you're giving us a value or benefit to Eskom thereof. Was that money paid to Tegeta, or was that money paid to Optimum? And what exactly was it for? And how much of a coincidence is it that Eskom, 12 hours before Tegeta was supposed to pay 2.1 billion rand and had already said it's short 600 million rand, Eskom pays this 600 million rand. So the questions there say are, what was that money for? What was it used for? Who was it paid for? And why did it come exactly as Tegeta was short of money?
All right, sir. Let me, for clarity, the value that we talk about, that delta we talk about, between the difference between the Tegeta real coal price and the revised Glencore offered price between the period 1st April 2016 and 31st December 2018, it's a calculated value. It's not real money. It's calculated value. 3.385 billion rands. That's the delta we talk about. It's a value. I'll request the Chief Financial Officer to give you a more detailed briefing on that.
Thank you, Dr. Naidoo. I think today's presentation is all about facts, and therefore Mr. Naidoo is reiterating the issue around facts. The fact is, we needed coal, we needed the supply of coal, Tegeta offered the coal, we've purchased the coal. There's a request for a prepayment, the prepayment was made, and there was a demonstration around value associated with the payment for the coal. And that's the sum total of the transaction. Associated with timing, we have no idea what Tegeta is doing with it. There is no facts associated with that, so there's nothing that we can respond to that.
If you will say, right on that one, you pay 600 million rands for a specific reason and then you have no idea what the money was used for. Is that what you just said?
There were assertions and facts that were presented to us by Tegeta associated with why the prepayment was required, and I think we've dealt with that in previous media briefings, and those facts remain the same.
And you've just said you have no idea how that money was used.
No. Can I intervene here? The coal they were supplying was not enough for our winter stocks. We wanted more. The only way they could give us more was going into the export quality coal. That's what the money was used for.
Sikonati,
Yes, sir.
we prepaid 600 million for coal, and the coal was delivered. Now, I don't know where you get the story that the money was used to pay the purchase price. I don't know if it was that money or it was other money, but all I know is the coal was delivered.
Mr.
The coal
Muli,
was delivered.
thank you, sir. I have not said what the money was used for. I asked what was it used for. And Mr. Singh
I
said
don't know
he
what it
doesn't
was
know.
used for, but the coal was delivered. The coal that we bought with the money was delivered.
Let's repeat this then, sir.
No,
Eskom
I-
paid
I
600
think-
million, right, and you
I
have no
think-
idea what the money was used for.
I think we can clarify this more later if there is an inquiry or a review. But all we can say for now is that the coal was delivered.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
No,
Sikonati,
Mr.
you-
Naidoo offered to answer a question and then another question. There are those that he has not yet answered.
maybe just for the benefit of everyone
have already
else.
asked them.
Yes,
We're
yes,
waiting for an answer
Just
on that.
clarifying, for after Sikonati, you'll have a chance to ask your question, but for everyone else, at least let's limit ourselves to 2 questions each. We'll have another round where we can take additional questions, but you can finish off with the one that you wanted to follow on.
Thank you, sir. The question you have not yet answered, Dr. Naidoo, is who that money was paid for and who supplied the coal. The last one, before Kulu grabs the mic from me. You said that everyone had an equal opportunity to approach Eskom without being solicited to offer coal. The question is, did Eskom put that contract out to tender or did it not? And how does that relate to the requirements of the Public Finance Management Act? Thank you.
Thank you, Sikonati. Dr. Naidoo.
Yes. Let me bring up that particular slide and we'll go through the details again for you. Thank you. Thank you. You want to talk about Hendrina? Is this the one? Yes, sir. Okay. What fact about it that you're not clear about?
Thank you, Dr. Naidoo.
Thank you, sir.
Who was the money paid to, and who delivered the coal? One. And you said in your presentation, in the matter of Tegeta approaching Eskom, you said everyone had an equal opportunity to approach Eskom without being solicited, as Tegeta did. The question I have, did Eskom put that tender out, that contract out to tender, or did it not? And how did Eskom's conduct there relate to the Public Finance Management Act and the duty of care of the board of Eskom?
Okay, I see where you were not clear. And I agree with your non-clarity. This contract was a contract that was entered into with Glencore some long time ago. Didn't happen now. It was a contract that was entered into Glencore long time ago. Not with Tegeta, not with anyone else, but with Glencore. Historical. It's an historical contract that's traveling in time. I think the start date of that contract was 1993, somewhere around there. Right? So we did not enter into any contract with Tegeta whatsoever. It's a Glencore contract. So Glencore had a coal supply agreement with Eskom to supply coal to Hendrina Power Station. So that's the legal entity as Glencore. And that contract expires in December 2018. And the price in that contract is fixed, 150 rands a ton. Fixed. Quality specifications are fixed. It's managed by Eskom and by the Bureau of Standards. Delivery conditions are all fixed. Eskom was approached by the owners of Optimum Coal Mine, Glencore's the owners, the owner of the contract, to say they have hardship. They have hardship in terms of the coal supply agreement, and they proposed 442 rand per ton, and the proposed 442 rand per ton. I recall this conversation very carefully. South Africa was in load shedding. I was sitting there when this discussion came to us. And this was my response to management that brought this hardship clause. There's a clause in that contract called hardship. And they said, Glencore says they have hardship. And my immediate response as a board of director member of Eskom, please go and tell Glencore we also have hardship. That was my response. You have hardship, we have hardship. We were working with Eskom to stabilize it at that particular time. Deep hardship, not just hardship, very hard hardship, whatever word you want to call it. And even at that time, there was this dispute between us and Glencore, OCM owners, valued at 2 billion rands. That's on the table. And we refused to accept the price that OCM had put. I personally refused. And we demanded, you pay us that money. Remember, that was a time where we had a liquidity crisis in Eskom, guys. We had liquidity crisis. The guys came to say to us at one meeting, there's a going concern issue. I said, what do you mean there's a going concern issue? There's no cash in the bank. That's the time we had to deal with all these issues. Now, let's not me go through the facts, they all are there, but I think I've given you the essence of it. Happy?
No, sir.
Not happy?
No, I'm
What are you not happy about?
The question I asked.
Doctor,
When-
maybe I can help.
Yeah.
Maybe I
Let
can.
me, all right, carry on.
Can we proceed to slide 9, please?
19,
9.
9. Right.
Thank you, sir. As we've explained on the slide, the procurement of the 2 million tons of coal was conducted through the 2008 coal mandate. approved by the board. The coal mandate at the time allowed for a limited approach to the market. You did not have to issue an open RFP to the market.
Correct.
In terms of the 2008 mandate concluded by the board. Consequently, 8 potential suppliers, as we've indicated, were considered. We concluded a transaction with 2 of them, based on timing and quality constraints. So that is how we've complied with the PFMA. In terms of who we've paid, the contractual agreement was with Msimbiti as well as Tegeta. The payments went to Tegeta and Msimbiti for the coal that was delivered by Tegeta and Msimbiti.
Very clear. Thank you, Chief Financial Officer. Happy?
I thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Naidoo, and for clarifying or reducing the hardships from Sigonati's side. I've noted you, Chris. Siseko?
Thank you very much. My name is Siseko Njobeni from Business Report. I'm afraid, Dr. Naidoo, I'll take you back to Sigonati's first question about the 2 billion penalty. During the session process, I understand that Eskom insisted that the terms and conditions be the same as those that were for Optimum, that is contracts for. Now make me understand what happened between that period when the session process took place and this arbitration proceedings that you're talking about. What are the discussions that took place? What is the context? Please do explain this to me, because it's just not clear to me. The second question I've got is...
Okay, just wait, just hold on that one. Let our company secretary handle that one for us.
Okay.
Please.
We'll take all the questions first.
Okay. All right.
Because some of them are related.
All right.
The second question I have is that even Mr. Mulife yesterday kept talking about the participation in the commission that has been recommended. Yet, again, in the same breath, the organization talks about taking the decision for review. What do you want to achieve with the review?
If you allow me, Dr. Naidoo, we'll take Chris, and then we will have a sort of a bigger chunk that we can deal with. Sigonati, you're out of order, honorable member. Chris?
Good morning. Chris Yelland from EE Publishers here. I've got 3 questions, quick questions. Dr. Naidoo, you said that the board has always acted ethically and lawfully. Can you comment on the judgment by the Supreme Court of Appeal in the matter of a 6 billion rand contract at Koeberg Power Station, where the Supreme Court of Appeal found that Eskom acted unfairly and unlawfully? Second question, if the prepayment to Tegeta was a normal prepayment in the normal course of business, why did Mr. Koko see fit to deny this prepayment on national TV before being exposed? And thirdly, Dr. Naidoo, you said that Eskom works very closely with and has always complied with the requirements of National Treasury. Why then did National Treasury say recently, I think it was the Chief Procurement Officer at National Treasury said that Eskom lied? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just to remind everyone, at least 2 questions at a time. We'll have another round. And welcome, by the way, Chris. The issues around us blacklisting you hopefully are resolved now. We'll speak to the gentleman next to Siseko.
Good day, Tony Beamish from Carte Blanche. I have 2 questions. The first relates to the proposed review of the Public Protector's report. Now, surely the most appropriate, if not expeditious, response would be to say, let's railroad that Judicial Commission of Inquiry, we will cooperate, and the decision will be made by a judge and whoever might form part of that judicial commission of inquiry, rather than a public protector. That's the first part. And the second question I have, which I'll preface with the idiom relating to public service and public institutions, is that Caesar's wife should be above reproach. Now, in your presentation today, correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears to me that in every instance where the board tender committee considered tenders, in every instance, someone there had to recuse themselves on the basis of a potential conflict of interest. I find that alarming. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Chair, before you respond, for those who are using Wi-Fi, I forgot to remind you about this one. The password and the username are NOV for November, small letters 2016, NOV 2016 for both your password and the username. Dr. Naidoo?
All right, thank you, sir. Let me go to my colleague that asked those first two questions, and I'm going to route that one to my colleague on the legal side. Company Secretary, the first question from my colleague there on legal process.
Okay, on the 2 billion penalty, the reason why we only started now is that you will recall that Optimum was in business rescue in terms of the Companies Act. It only came out of business rescue on the 31st of August this year, and hence we then could proceed. For those of you who are not lawyers, you will be made to understand that once a company goes into business rescue, all legal proceedings are stayed, and it is on that basis that we could not proceed. So now that they have been reinstated, we have started the proceedings, and it will be continued under the arbitration provisions. On the issue of Westinghouse, no court has found on the unfairness and unethicalness of the tender process. In fact, when we were at the Constitutional Court, the question was emphatically posed to the Westinghouse attorneys as to on what basis there was no allegation of corruption, etc. And we are still awaiting the outcome of the Constitutional Court judgment. The other issue is, why would we want to consider a review proceeding? At the moment, there are a number of inconsistencies in the report, and we have asked Council to look at our options, and that is why we are considering it.
No, thank you. Thank you, Company Secretary. Going to Mr. Yellen's questions. Mr. Yellen, with due respect, all four of your questions have got no relevance to the information I presented today. Absolutely no relevance. So please do not draw me into that discussion. No need for it. Thank you. Going to point number 3, sir, what we said is we are considering a review. We're still in discussion in terms of how we manage that going forward, and you'll be advised of process in due course. As I said, Eskom is a 24-hour business. We talk to global investors. To suddenly take a swipe at us without founded facts hurts the business, and we have to perform our fiduciary accountability and duty in terms of taking care of the business. In terms of your second comment regarding the workings of the Companies Act, board committees, board itself, and board committee operations, it's a structured process, and we work within that structured process. Thank you, sir.
I'm going to sort of take a
Could
break
you just
now.
want to add addition
Oh,
to that?
sorry.
As well, I think when we look at conflicts, there is no requirement for conflicts not to exist. Conflicts are not outlawed. Conflicts need to be declared and managed. And that is what we try to convey in the presentation today. There are many non-executive directors on many JSE-listed companies that effectively have many conflicts. We are no different.
We're gonna try to see if we have any people joining us on the chorus call from across the nation.
There are no current questions on the line
No.
from the chorus call.
Thank you so much. I'll give the chance to the lady over here, and then to Warren and to Terence. I'll stop right there, and then I'll give you another chance, starting from my right.
Thank you so much. My name is Kelvin Ongmo from ANN7. Going back to prepayment, Tegeta deal is concerned, Tegeta was 600 million short for the purchase of Optimum Mine, and they had been refused a loan by the consortium of banks. What PP's report suggests that on the day before the payment was due, the board had an emergency meeting where a loan was approved for Tegeta. What her report suggests is that this could be in violation of several acts. Your comment on that? Thank you so much.
Warren?
Sorry, Warren Dick from MoneyWeb. Just a question around that prepayment as well. As far as I understand it, there's two ways that the prepayment, there were two consequences of the prepayment. One, Eskom was giving money to a company that did not yet own a mining license or any assets in order to deliver your coal. And if it did, at the time, have those assets and you were in fact funding prepayment of coal, you were putting 600 million rand into a business that was under business rescue, which in my mind does not sound like a very prudent use of financial resources. So I'd just like to get your comment on that. And then my second question relates to Mr. Malefe's role when he became acting CEO of Eskom, as I understand it, on the 22nd of April last year. At that point, as alluded to in the state capture report, Eskom and the company had made progress on fixing the problem with the price of coal that Optimum said was far below what its costs were. And obviously, Mr. Naidoo, you alluded to the company's proud history, 100-year history that's coming up, and the fact also that Eskom has owned and operated mines of its own through cost-plus arrangements in the past. It appears from the state capture report that the Eskom had sent its auditors and its advisors to check and see if Glencore's costs justified a higher price in terms of the coal that they were supplying to Hendrina. So I just wanted to get your comment on that. It seems that when Mr. Malefe got involved, he did a U-turn on the course of action that the company had undertaken with Glencore to try and sort this contract out, and against the advice of your own people and advisors who had indicated that the costs that Glencore was seeking were justified, resulted in this about-turn that eventually led to, I guess, this collapse in the relationship between Glencore and Eskom over this coal supply agreement. So I just wanted to understand, from your perspective, why Mr. Malefe would have done that about-turn in what appeared to be contrary to what Eskom, the path Eskom had gone down on their own.
Terence?
Terence Creamer, Engineering News. On one of the slides, you mentioned that other prepayments were made since 2008, valued between 100 and 400 million rand. I imagine those are also to non-cost-plus mines, because you mentioned a whole lot of cost-plus mines that got pre-investment funding. So if you could just give us the identities of those mines that also got prepayments since 2008. And then just...
Sorry, we can't do that. I mean, that's customer information which is confidential.
Okay. Then just to follow up on the point made by Carte Blanche, if you've got the facts and you want to put those into the public domain, the mechanism suggested in the State of Capture report is this commission of inquiry. If you take it on review, the only thing that you can probably contest is a recommendation that this commission of inquiry be formed. Why are you not calling for this commission of inquiry to be formed as soon as possible, rather than considering a review? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Naidoo?
No, thank you. And again, you see from all the three questions that we've got, there's a very strong point that it seems, you know, and that's the struggle we also have. It seems. All we've done today is given you the facts, pure facts. Right. As I said, in terms of the prepayment is part of the structured contract that exists between supplier and Eskom. It's not outside those contracts, it's within a structured environment. And that's what gives us the space to work in terms of each one of the suppliers that delivers coal to our power stations. It's within a structured environment. We'll need to take each one of those contracts out, unpack it completely from the day that it was initiated, and these are long-term contracts, as I said, and fully understand how that mechanics works. We cannot look at this at face value and say it seems, and we continue. So let's look at it within the structured commercial contract that exists between supplier and Eskom. Okay? I will let the Chief Financial Officer add more to that particular point.
Thank you, Dr. Naidoo. I think as it relates to the question associated with the awarding a coal supply agreement to a company that doesn't have a mining license, I think if you look at the presentation, page 5, which is the first contract that we mentioned, Tegeta was awarded a contract with Eskom on the 10th of March 2015. The prepayment occurred in April 2016. So we were not awarded a contract to Tegeta had they not had a mining license on the 10th of March 2015. So there was in possession of a mining license. Secondly, as it relates to your question around liquidity risk and paying 500 million to a company that was in business rescue, my concern at the time was actually not OCM that was in business rescue. Because as we mentioned before, we're actually paying the money to Tegeta. At the time, Tegeta was actually facing issues around their bank accounts, if you recall. So my concern was actually more about paying the money to Tegeta rather than OCM. And for that, we insisted on getting adequate security. And as Mr. Molefe mentioned yesterday, we requested and obtained all of the shares, the share capital of Tegeta Resources and Exploration. Now, again, you will ask the question, why? If you look at the financial statements of the company, it's only worth probably 24 million, right? The value in the shares did not lie in the share capital of the company. It lied in the contracts that we had awarded to it, where we would have had access to the coal. We've conducted evaluation of the underlying contracts, and the underlying contracts was far in excess of the value of 600 million rand that we paid to Tegeta. So we are comfortable that the financial risk associated with liquidity was adequately covered by the shares that we actually got in security for the prepayment. Secondly, in terms of your assertion that Mr. Molefe acted against the advice of his people, management is put in place for exactly that, to assess advice that we get, not only from our people, from advisors, from media, from everybody. That's the reason we're sitting here today. That's the reason the board is there. The board is supposed to second guess what we as executives take to them. I find it strange that you ask that question after we've demonstrated the value that we've derived for the shareholder, by virtue of the fact that we actually did not go with the advice of our people. Had we gone with the advice of our people, we would have destroyed value for the company.
But more importantly is the fact that the public protector never asked me that question. She found that I ignored the advice of the people at Eskom, and that I took a different course from what was being recommended. But she never asked me that question. And in terms of the Public Protectors Act, I think she was required to have asked me, why did you do that? And today, she called me a liar for saying that she did not interview me. She didn't. She didn't. She never posed the questions to me about that specific question. The Public Protector, I don't know how she obtained my cell phone records. I have never been able to ask how she obtained my cell phone records. I've never been able to ask her from whom she obtained my cell phone records. I've never been able to interview the people that gave her my cell phone records. And that, I think, is irregular. I don't know, but maybe because I'm a layman. And it is matters on which we will be taking legal advice. But it is very rich of the public protector to say this morning that I'm lying, that I was afforded an opportunity to explain my cell phone records or the question that you've just asked.
Right. Thank you, Chief Executive. On the last question that came through on the issue around review, I'll ask the Company Secretary. Ma'am, can you help us there with that response? The last question.
As we said, there are a number of inconsistencies in the report, and we had agreed, Eskom and the Public Protector had agreed on a process which wasn't followed. I will not be able to share more at the moment as we are considering the case with our legal counsel.
Sorry, just a point of correction. It's not the Public Protector that said things about me this morning. It's Ms. Tuli Madonsela, because the Public Protector's office has actually not commented.
All right. Because the board has other meetings that they needed to attend, I'm afraid I'm going to have to call it quits here. Those of you who would maybe like to get any other information, my colleagues here, Swazi and Nobisa, will assist you in terms of facilitating.
We will postpone our meeting. Let's finish with the questions.
Thank you so much for that, Chair. And actually, maybe let me start off by giving you the obvious. A day has 24 hours. Some people, obviously, including some of the media reports we have seen, have quoted the issue about a meeting being held at 9 o'clock in the evening. Dr. Naidoo has said that we are a 24-hour operation, and therefore don't be surprised. In fact, even media statements, there have been instances where we issue media statements at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the evening. So we are using all the hours that are available there, so don't be surprised. So we'll take the last round of questions. I'll start with the lady over here.
I've got the mic.
I'll take people who did not ask questions just to give them fairness. Ms. Smith, if you don't mind, because I had already noted her, so you'll be next after this lady here.
Alvera Wood from Netwerk 24. Question, a lot of this is all about the cost of coal. Has there ever been a consideration for having a set price of coal that Eskom pays for all its power stations? And how come it differs so much from one mine to the next and from one power station to the next?
Executive Director, Generation. Okay.
We'll answer. First, I'll answer on the legislation side. You will recall that coal pricing in South Africa is not regulated. In fact, we have to compete on the open market for pricing. There have been submissions on the part of Eskom to have a special regulation for coal that's used for generation purposes. However, that has not found its way into the Mineral, Petroleum and Resources Development Act. As you see, the bill was recently published in Parliament. So unfortunately, that hasn't made its way in, so we have to compete in the open market on that basis. And I'll hand over to the CFO to deal with the commercial aspects.
We have different coal qualities. The old power stations uses very very high caloric CVs, around 23 CVs, which is not easily available. That coal is generally expensive. Now, I want to use this opportunity here because it's market signaling for us. So we have a targeted price, and that targeted price for the coal CV of 23, we want coal delivered at 19 rands per kilo, 19 rands per gigajoule, delivered. And as your coal reduces the 21 CV, which is the latest power stations. The old power stations uses that coal, the 23 CVs. The new power stations are more forgiving because they are big and they use coal CVs of the 21s. And for that, our target price delivered is actually 17 rands delivered. Now what's more interesting, which people never talks about, and I suspect people deliberately avoid it, is that up until this board, Eskom never ever went on an open inquiry to procure coal. We never did that. And we have never been asked by the people who are asking us today, why have we never ever gone to the open inquiry for coal up until this board? We've never done that. Only this board has put rules in place to say, from now on going forward, when you procure coal, you will go on an open inquiry. And we want to see the real price of coal delivered going down. Now, we have not gone to open inquiry, but we still comply to the PFMA. So we've not been delinquent company, because we follow through the process and we get it approved. But what you have not asked is, what is the price that Braakfontein gives to Eskom? It's 13 rands per gigajoule. Go find another supplier that will give Eskom the price, the coal, at 13 rands per gigajoule. I put it to you, ma'am, you will not find it. That Braakfontein, from Braakfontein to Majuba, as free on board, excluding transport, is 13 rands 50 per gigajoule. Go find a supplier that will beat Tegeta prices. And I'm on record to say you will not find it.
That was Mr. Machela Koko. He's the group executive for generation.
The chief executive says I must explain what the CV is. It's a heat content of the coal.
Okay. Dr. Naidoo, if you allow me, I'll take sort of a tranche, which will possibly be the last round, actually, sure. And then we can deal with them in one big go. I'll give it opportunity to Tulas, and then after him, there's a gentleman with checkered shirt. And then for now, I think we'll stop there. But yeah, the other people I'll take once the mics become available.
Thank you, Kulu. Tulas Izwesemelane from ENCA. Mr. Molefe, did you declare your relationship with the Guptas to Eskom, but also to, the appointing authority, the executive authority over this SOE? And do you consider it to be fair that, you sit on a board of an SOE that deals with companies owned by your friends, the Guptas? Secondly, perhaps Dr. Ngubane, you could respond to this. Another finding of the public protector, or observation as she calls them, is that the board of Eskom was not properly constituted. Have you, and I see you've not responded to that. What is your response to that? Are you taking that up with the minister concerned? Are you looking to rectify that? And then my final one is a comment that I hope any of you can address. It works out so neatly for the Gupta family that it certainly doesn't hurt them that Dr. Ngubane, you're a director in Gate Oil and Gas, where Mr. Issa was a previous director. Mr. Pamensky is a director of several companies. Mr. Molefe is a friend of the Guptas. It really works out so neatly. My question is, with all of this happening, isn't it a stretch to stretch the faith of South Africans? Because all you are saying is, trust us. When we needed to recuse ourselves, we recused ourselves, and all the decisions we took were above board and in the interest of Eskom. I suggest to you it's a bit of a stretch of the faith of South Africans. Please respond to that.
Thanks, Tulas. Okay, just hold on a sec there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I just want to get to that slide so that we are very clear in terms of the conflicts of interest. What don't you understand here? Tulas? We've given you the facts. We've given you the information. We cannot run the company, we cannot run Eskom on the basis of perceptions. It seems to be, cannot be run. There are hard facts here, and we've given you the facts. Let me speak about myself in terms of coming onto the board of Eskom. And there's documentation proof to that. In 2014, I was the president of the South African Institute of Electrical Engineers. Electricity is close to us. Eskom is close to us. I grew up in Eskom. I spent my 27 years here. When Eskom was in trouble, I went to the Council of South African Institute of Electrical Engineers, and I said to Council, we need to help. We've got to help Eskom and help the country. Later that year, there was a public advert in the Sunday Times calling for nominations to the board of various state enterprises. We took the advert to council. There are council minutes to that effect. And we said to council, what do we do? And council recommended that we put in our nominations. And we put in our nominations. We filled in the paperwork, we put in our CV, we put all the paperwork, and we sent our paperwork in response to the public advert that was placed in the Sunday Times. And that went into the process thereafter that selected us. And I was now appointed in December of 2014 to come forward and serve Eskom and serve South Africa. And that is the reason why I'm here. So I cannot work on the basis of it seems to be, or perceptions, or whatever it is, observations you call it. We cannot work on those bases. I hope I've answered your question. Thank you, sir. And let us cut out that discussion. We cannot build a world-class South Africa. We cannot build a country going forward as long as we continue on this basis of perceptions, on observations. It's time we get back to the facts, and that's what we've done here today, is we've given you the facts, the hard facts, and we will present those facts to anybody, or any institution, or anyone that wants those facts. It's available to you. Let us close the discussions now. Thank you. Chairman, do you want to say a few words?
Just a minute.
Thank you, Chairman. You close.
Do you know who Gate Oil and Gas is? Who owns it? You are assuming it's a Gupta company. You assume it because you say that it does a benefit, it gives a benefit to the Guptas. Gate Holdings is owned by me. I was ambassador in Japan. I had made friends with a lot of African ambassadors. One of the ambassadors said to me, there's an oil block that's going to come up in the Central African Republic. I was at a meeting of oil importers, and I subsequently met Esa, who said, I would like to be part of the venture into Africa. You know the story about the Central African Republic. There was a revolution. Even our soldiers were killed there. We canceled that. And Esa resigned. He had only been there 3 months. Now, I get all sorts of offers from different people to be either part of their businesses or to come into my business. So please, man, don't draw conclusions as has happened in the Public Protector's report. You read things and then you say, maybe it's illegal. Establish the illegality of it first and then talk. And then you can report to the Scorpions, you can report to the Hawks, you can report to anyone to find redress. This thing of setting people's minds against other people is going to kill this country. There is a huge effort to demonize some people, promote some people. when in fact the underlying facts are not even understood. The rigorous process of appointing board members of SOEs is well known. Luthuli House gets involved, deployment committees get involved, cabinet gets involved to assess the nominations that come from civil society. I was nominated for Transnet, I was nominated for Eskom. It was government that decided I must come to Eskom. So I said, okay, I'm going to go there. So this story that we're appointed inappropriately, I just don't know where it comes from, except that it's malicious. It's part of the big agenda by some quarters to discredit this government and essentially to discredit anything that is led by people that they don't like.
Mr. Molefe, I thought you wanted to add a word or two.
No, I just wanted to say that it is also part of the issues that I have, that the public protector, although she made that observation and said that my friendship with the Guptas raised a conflict, she never raised it with me. She never asked me, so what is your response to that? Because we never had a meeting, and there is not a single document in which she asked me that question. So it is a matter that I would have liked to discuss with her and to establish with her what the nature of the conflict was, or to explain myself. I never had an opportunity to explain myself, and at the right moment, because now I will take legal advice, at the right moment, either at the inquiry or at the hearing for the review, I will explain that.
Chair, if you allow me, I'll just take the last round, and we have already identified people who are going to ask questions. I'll go with Apiwe, and then after him, there's Disetso at the back, and then there's, I think it's Miriam, and then I think we will stop there, to be honest with you, because the others are asking for the second round. Apiwe.
Hi, I'm Apiwe from CNBC Africa. Mine is just what Mr. Molefe actually spoke about on the call records themselves. There are a number of calls that have been recorded by the state, by the previous public protector. I'm just wondering, could Mr. Molefe confirm the legitimacy of them? Because I seem like he doesn't understand where they come from. But could he confirm the legitimacy of them? Have the calls been made? And maybe what has been discussed there? Is there a friendship there? We just want to clarify it, get an answer over there.
Disetso.
Hi, my name is Disetso from Reuters. I also follow up to the phone calls. I mean, given the timing of the standoff with Glencore, Tegeta buying Optimum, and also the phone conversations, why is the public protector wrong in raising suspicions about your conduct towards both Optimum and Glencore? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not saying the public protector is wrong. All I'm saying is that in terms of the Public Protector Act, when she got hold of that information, which was my cell phone records, she was supposed to confront me with it, and she didn't. She was supposed to come to me and say, here is information that you made these phone calls. I would have asked her, where do you get the information? Who gave you the information? And she would have said, I subpoenaed so-and-so, and so on. And then I would have said, let me interview the person and find out where they got the information. And only then would I have been able to answer her. But anyway, it is a matter on which I will take legal advice.
Miriam?
Yeah, thank you. It's Mariam Issa from FinWeek. I wanted to follow up on a question asked earlier twice, which I think is very important. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard from Mr. Molefe and from Mr. Naidoo that Eskom didn't know what Tegeta was using the prepayment money for. Surely this can't be the case. Are you saying that it was irrelevant what the money was used for?
Miriam, if you go and buy a car tomorrow and you pay Toyota 200,000 rand for a car, and they give you the car, I don't understand your question. I mean, are you going to ask, what is Toyota going to do with the money that I paid for, with the car?
Okay. Just to give you further context, there was a formal request to Eskom on the part of Tegeta, and it was on that basis that it was considered by Eskom. So we have the formal operational request on file, and that was acted on.
Thank you, colleagues. Let's close. I think we've had our innings. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chair. The board members, I'm sure they will stick around for a few minutes, and then they will...
With respect, sir, we were called here twice, 2 days in a row, to deal with the state capture report. You have 5 hands at least here going up. We have left our offices to come and work here. We have further questions to deal with the matters with respect.
And Sikonati, at the right moment, you will be called again to deal with the state of the system.
Yesterday, sir, you said we can deal with this today, and we are here to deal with it. With respect, I beg you to carry on with the presentation.
Yes, I agree with you. I said we'll postpone the other meeting. We will take all the concerns and all the questions.
Thank you,
because
sir.
That's the purpose of today.
I thank you.
Even if we finish at 6 tonight, okay.
Oh.
Now that I've got the mic then, if you don't mind, Dr. Ngubane.
Sikonati, okay, obviously you do have the mic, but I did not recognize the honorable member. I'll give it to the
Out
lady
of
next
order,
to
comrade.
Chris Yelland, and then I'll take you afterwards. If you can just pass it to your left-hand side.
Thanks. Hello, I'm Luther from the Sunday Times. You mentioned that it's not an unusual case for Eskom to do prepayments. You've been doing that for years. I just wanted to know, with all your other prepayments with other coal suppliers, how long is the wait, or what's the process between, how long is the wait between approval of that contract as well as the actual prepayment? The reason why I'm asking is because I want to find out whether the prepayment that was done to Tegeta, was that before or after the change of ownership?
Thank you.
Can I just explain to you? I don't sit on the tender board committee, but I've read the procedure governing supply chain management and procurement. There are various authorities and levels. There could be triple adjudication, there could be sole adjudication, you know, and many other levels. It's a huge process. Now, depending on the agency of the matter, a particular process is adopted.
Thank you, Chair. Sikonati?
Thank you, sir. Again, thank you, Dr. Ngubane, for allowing us to continue. Mr. Molefe, I have an urgent question, sir. People are asking me all over and on social media, what is the address of the shebeen? One.
Sorry. Look, let's be serious.
It's not
That's a
relevant.
private matter.
Yeah.
You can't ask me to
Agreed.
give you detail. Oh, okay.
Now let me answer.
It's not fair.
Let me answer Sikonati. No, wait. You did not hear me yesterday, Sikonati. I said that yesterday, when I arrived at work, I said to Chose that they say I was in Saxon World 14 times. And Chose's response was, that's nothing, because he goes there every Friday. I didn't say that I went there. I said, he goes there. He said, he goes there. Well, Sikonati has been there. Oh, I thought you said he was at the Shebeen. Yeah. He said that, Chose said, there's a place in Saxon World which is a Shebeen. Yeah, that he goes to on Friday and on Saturday. So if they had checked his cell phone records, they would have found that 14 times is nothing, because he goes and drinks in Saxon World. And I was just sharing that with you. And now it looks like I drink 14 times at the Shebeen in Saxon World.
Thank you, sir. I'll take that one up with Chose later, because I want the address. Brian, you have been mentioned no less than 71 times in the Public Protector report, and indeed you have not been interviewed about it. Now that we have established you have never been to the Shibin, were you at the Guptas all those 19 times? And on the telephone calls that the Public Protector said in the report, she subpoenaed the companies to provide the information. What was being discussed with Mr. Gupta? And was that appropriate for your position as the chief executive of an entity that is doing billions of rands in business with that company to be discussing that? And are we honestly to believe that at all of those occasions you discussed other things other than Eskom business, perhaps? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Let me allow...
Yeah, I will answer Sekonati.
Okay.
Sekonati, it is a question. You're telling me about the number of times that I appear in the Public Protector's report. She has not interviewed me about these issues. My position at the moment is, because of that, I would like to take legal advice, and I will respond at the appropriate time to the appropriate authorities about exactly what she was writing about. I've said earlier that I don't know who gave her the records, because it's not disclosed in the report. I would have asked that, who gave her the records? Was it the cell phone companies? Was it some foreign intelligence agencies? Who gave her the records? Number one. Number two, I would have asked for an opportunity to interview the people that gave her the records. And I would still like to follow that process, if you don't mind. That I get legal advice on what we do about the fact, because I feel that her failure to ask me these questions has resulted in enormous prejudice and damage to myself. And I would like to reserve my rights and take legal advice.
Can I appeal? Can I appeal? This cannot be a level session. Okay? Financial mail, I know you write all sorts of things. This is not a level session. We came here to present facts and to objectively handle the issues that affect Eskom. Now, don't come with subjective things and all sorts of things that you would say at a Shibin or something like that.
Before we go to the chorus call, let's take Kevin here.
I'm Kevin Crowley from Bloomberg. Just some short ones, please. Can you give the price per tonne that Eskom pays to Geta for coal at Hendrina and Arnott, and have these contracts ever been revised? Also, I'd like to ask: was Glencore ever given the opportunity to supply Arnott? And thirdly, would you ever consider tendering with any Gupta-linked companies in any forthcoming nuclear deals? And just lastly, did your head of coal, with Mr. Ungabane, did he fly to Zurich and attend that meeting? Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
No, you're head of coal.
I think I need to say something here. We are committed to a process of transformation. If a black supplier comes before Eskom, a new supplier, we are going to do everything in our power to give a contract to that person. We cannot continue this practice of some apartheid companies continuing to benefit from the enormous resources of this country. History obliges us to change tact, to transform the economy. And that's what we are doing. Now, please see the Tageta things and all the other people who are still going to appoint, from which probably the traditional suppliers will take umbrage and use the press and probably even use the courts to maintain their privilege. We're going to fight that because we're committed to transformation. I think with that, I suspect we have exhausted the usefulness of this session. Thank you.
Dr. Naidoo, if you allow me, there's I'm told there's one or two people on the chorus call. We'll just take them and then we can wrap it from there.
Our first question is from Loni Prinsloo from Bloomberg.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Hi guys, hi Brian. Can I actually ask my questions or our questions? But I would like to get some clarification on whether Vusi Ngubane actually attended, your head of coal, attended that meeting in Zurich. Thank you so much, guys.
I think that question was answered.
No, I think
that question should go to the DMR.
He has not.
Not here. None of us were there. I was in Zurich.
Sorry, it's about Vusi Ngobeni.
Oh.
Vusi Mboweni, our head of procurement. He was not in Zurich, and he's never been to Zurich. We have asked him about this. He has confirmed that he was not in Zurich.
I think, Chair, this will be it. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and we'll see you next time, hopefully under different circumstances.